Hey Critical Analysis, this is your video for your Chapter 3 vocabulary. So I am in Week 3, I am in the fill-in folder, and I am at the Chapter 3 study guide. There will be a separate video for Chapter 4. So when you click on that, you are going to get your Chapter 3 study guide. Looks like this. And then again, how you do this is totally up to you. I know a couple of you have asked follow-up questions. Remember, I do not collect this study guide. So how you learn is how best to process this. So if you are a visual learner, maybe you can kind of just sit and watch me type and you can get the information in that way. If you're an auditory learner, you could be listening as I talk about these words. If you're a read-write learner, maybe you also type in the definitions as I talk about them, or you print the study guide out and you write them down. Whatever works for you is what's going to be best. Again, I do not collect this. The page number is so that you can more easily find your word. The meaning from context is so that you're getting the right definition for how it is being used in our selections, because some words have multiple meanings. And then the original sentence is just if you want to make sure that you really understand how to utilize the word in the context of writing. Okay, so as I've done for chapters 1 and 2, I'm going to pull up my completed study guide so that it's already there and I can go through these without having to type and take up more time. All right, so I will tell you that the first set of words right here come from what's called our vocabulary booster. So I'm going to go back into our textbook and I am in chapter 3 over here on the table of contents, and I'm going to click vocabulary booster. This is where these words are coming from, just as a reference. So I'm going to pull my study guide back up here in just a second, but this is where I am retrieving these words from, and you can see like the word pediatrician, like right here. So it does have it in here that you can reference if you need to go in and see any example sentences that our textbook uses for this first little chunk of words. All right, so a pediatrician, probably a word that most of you are familiar with, either because you have been a child or you currently have children. So a pediatrician is a doctor who specifically treats kids. So that's a doctor for children. A radiologist, you'll see that the ending here, the ist on the rest of these words is one who studies or one who specializes in. So you'll see that suffix work here. Radiologist is someone who uses and diagnoses off of x-rays. So they're the ones who are going to be looking at your x-ray to see, is something broken? Is something, looking at maybe different scans? So that is someone who uses and diagnoses off of x-rays. A neurologist is someone who specializes in neurology, the nerves and the brain. So a doctor of neurology is going to be looking specifically at the nerves and the brain. A cardiologist is someone who specializes in the heart. So again, if you are a med student, if you're nursing or anything like that, these prefixes are going to be, if not already, very familiar, because you have to just be really aware of all of these. So cardiologist, someone who specializes in the heart. And then oncologist is someone who studies or specializes in cancer and tumors. Okay, so that's the first set of vocabulary words right there. Again, they come from this vocabulary booster. I'm doing too many videos today. They come from the vocabulary booster, so be sure to check out that section. All right, underneath there, we have our next set of words. These come from selection 1. So depending on if you've already watched the chapter 3 assignment video, I talked a little bit about these selections because they are part of your text and skill sheet. So depending on what order you're watching these videos, you may have already read these selections and seen these words used in context, but these next set of words come from your very first selection on business communications, specifically with the marketing, tasty, fun, and dashing speed. Okay, so that's what these words will cover. The word conveying is to make something known. So if you want to convey something, then you want to be able to make it known. Okay, a moniker is a name. So a moniker is just another way to say a name. So what moniker do you go by? Maybe it's a nickname, maybe it's an actual name. Then you have the word sensibilities, is when you have an awareness of something. So if you have your sensibilities, you are responsive. You know what's going on. Sometimes you might hear people say like they've lost all their sensibility, means they don't know what's happening. But sensibilities means your awareness or responsiveness. Connotation is the feeling a word invokes. So for example, if you have two words like jock and athlete, denotatively, like in the dictionary, those mean very similar things. Someone who plays a sport, right? But connotatively, the word jock might evoke more of a feeling because maybe you have a stronger reaction to that word. The word jock might conjure up images of someone who's very like cocky or not very kind to people, just stereotypically. So connotation is the feeling that a word invokes. And then phonetically, some of you, depending on when you went to school, because literacy tends to go through swings, some of you may have learned how to read phonetically when you sound out letter sounds like A, ah, B, but, you know, like that. So learning words phonetically. All right, so that's the whole first side of our study guide. Again, these words come from your vocabulary booster. These words come from selection number 1. All right, looking on the back side, or in this case, just scrolling down, our next set of words from perceptions down to de-escalate. These come from selection number 2. So this is the stress selection. So again, if you already watched your chapter 3 assignment video, you would see that this is the managing stress selection. So if you haven't read the selection yet, or you have, you can just kind of review these words or see how they're used in the context here. So we have the words perceptions is your ability to see or become aware of, like, how do you perceive this information? Can you hear it? Can you see it? How are you aware? Derogatory is not a good thing. It's negative. A derogatory comment or a derogatory attitude is very critical or very disrespectful towards someone or a group of people. Appraisal is to assess something. You might hear this most often with maybe like a home appraisal to see how it is, you know, how much it's worth. Now, when we talk about appraisals, it's not always money related, but oftentimes that is kind of the context you hear it in. Reprimanding means to dismiss or remove, or even like if you wanted to say like kind of like a punishment. So if you reprimand something, you're just kind of like, all right, I'm going to dismiss this, or I got to punish. I've got to, you know, dole out a consequence for this. And then de-escalate is to try to calm down a situation. So if you have a group of friends who are starting to fight, maybe you tell a joke to de-escalate, to calm everyone down. All right, and then the last set of vocabulary words come from, you can probably guess, selection number 3. So we can click in there. This is your criminal justice selection on DNA collection and like kind of the ethical implications of all of that. And so here are these words. Unique means to be different. So special, maybe it's not quite normal. It's not what you see every day. It's unique. Scrutiny, if you scrutinize something, you are putting it under like a harsh microscope, a very critical evaluation of something to scrutinize. Scenario is just another word of saying like a situation. What's a scenario? What's a situation? What are the circumstances surrounding this? Elaborate, tell me more. Maybe you don't quite, you answer, but you don't quite give a lot of details. So you might be asked to elaborate or expand or explain further. And then elusive, hard to catch. So maybe one of you in one of your discussion posts was talking about how math in particular is difficult for you. So maybe like getting an A in a math class is elusive for you. It's hard to catch. Or literally a person can be elusive. Maybe a criminal is elusive, hard to catch. All right, so those are your vocabulary terms for chapter 3. I encourage you to either fill in your own study guide, to listen to my video maybe more than once, and then whenever you're ready, head over to the chapter 3 assignment video because I talk about your chapter 3 vocabulary quiz in that video. Until next time, bye.